It's great to have you back. Now, after 2 years of businesses taking a knock from COVID-19, it's time to get things back on track. And today, the Africa Economic Leadership Council launches its South Africa chapter. Well, the council is hoping to help restart economies across the African continent. But I'm now joined by its co-founder and chairperson, Mr. Percy Morapedi Koji. Mr. Koji, thank you for your time and good morning.
Good morning to you too, and good morning to the listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we are here having this South African chapter being launched because you saw a gap. You saw a need, yourself and your colleagues, to definitely address some of the challenges when it comes to entrepreneurship, business, not only in the country, but within the continent. Before we get into the matters and the business of today, what are those challenges and gaps that you've identified?
So, I mean, first of all, we do realize that being an entrepreneur comes with a lot of challenges. And among those is that we do realize that, you know, trading among ourselves, not only within the country, but continentally, is one of the best methods of addressing the challenges that we have. And secondly, obviously, we're trying to create a better access to market for most entrepreneurs without them depending on their respective governments in each country. So the main objective is to actually address those challenges by making sure that we have a collective effort that will address that, and without obviously slowing down on the passion in trade.
Right. And I think South Africans watching our conversation right now are saying, Dumela, we want jobs. There are no jobs. We're seeing the fuel price hike, increasing, the food basket. It's getting smaller and smaller because food is getting so expensive, cost of living. We're still depending on the 350 Rand grant. How do we know that councils such as these will address these issues practically?
So, I mean, the people who are running the council are entrepreneurs, like myself. I've been in business for more than 15 years now. My co-founder, Mr. Heinrich Hafeni in Namibia, has been running multiple businesses as well. So the council is run by day-to-day entrepreneurs, like myself. We've got chapters across the continent, and South Africa happened to be one of the countries where we're launching in today. And I think one of the issues that we're trying to address is that you are not going to create employment by trying to drive issues on your own as an entrepreneur. It has to be a collective effort. And I mean, also we're trying to address the issues around Agenda 2063 from the African Union. So the objective there is that we don't, we've seen a lot of policy conferences, people talking, but we are yet to see the action from that. So Africa Economic Leadership Council is there to make sure that we implement on the policies that are discussed.
Right. And how's the support being from government? We just came out of, SONA back in February, quite optimistic, hearing from the president saying that he's, of course, set up a task team to ensure there would be red tape alleviated so that there would be more access to the market, the informal traders as well. Quite pleased to hear that, that red tape around them trading would also kind of, be eased down. But has there been positive feedback from government and support?
There has been. I mean, I'm excited to say Honorable Premier Makura is actually he's a keynote speaker at our conference today. So I think the idea there is to show that we're not only operating in isolation, we are collaborating with our government, but more so, we're doing this with an objective to also support our president. Whatever systems that are in place and the approach that he's taking to lead our country needs a lot of support. Without the private sector initiative, some of the things that he's trying to do can only be implemented when entrepreneurs like ourselves are on the ground to make sure that those who are in need, especially your SMMEs, can be capacitated. Trade links are created, so they don't only depend on what the president is trying to do, but also they do realize that there are opportunities across the border.
And with that being said, are Africans keen to trade amongst themselves? Is there a hunger and a thirst and also interest in actually trading amongst other Africans in your experience?
Of course. I mean, we launched in Namibia in the middle of COVID last year, in April. In actual fact, Africa Economic Leadership Council next year would be turning 1 year old. Hence, we launched in the extension in South Africa. We've been trading. I mean, I was 2-3 days ago, I've just arrived from Kenya. I was also in Ethiopia. So we're setting up systems in place at this point in time. And yes, of course, Africans do want to trade, but also we're trying to do away with the perception that for any entrepreneur to be successful, you need to go to Europe or the Middle East or wherever.
Right.
So there's a lot that our continent has to offer.
I think in one of my last questions to you before I let you go then, Mr. Koji, you mentioned COVID-19. That usually was obviously a big blow to businesses, particularly small businesses. Any lessons that you think we can derive from this and better cushion ourselves for any future pandemics to hit, of course, the world or even our continent? What do you think is the lesson here that also the Council has learned and will say from these lessons, from the pandemic, this is how we move forward?
So the lesson learned is that Africa must be capacitated in real terms.
Absolutely.
So we need to begin to trade internally. I'll make an example. I mean, you look at the tourism industry. The moment COVID hit throughout the continent, because part of our economic contribution from the tourism sector was inbound tourists who were coming into and across the continent. So in the absence of them coming into the continent, what should happen? So I think some of the agendas that we're trying to drive is to make sure that people don't only, trade among themselves, but we capacitate issues around the manufacturing sector, tourism, trading among ourselves, because this is the only way that our country will grow, or countries will grow within the continent. But also, this is the best way to create a bigger tax base from our government's perspective. So the only way to increase the revenue in tax collection is to grow the SMME and build good capacity, also create links, create better platforms for them to trade among themselves.
Now, quickly before I let you go as well, besides David Makhura speaking and honouring the event today, any other keynote speakers that will be gracing your launch today?
So we've got the CEO and the president of Zambia Stock Exchange. He's running one of the largest funds in the continent. So these are the people that we are attracting into our council. And he's actually the head representative of the Africa Economic Leadership Council in Zambia to make sure that not only do we attract the relevant support in terms of infrastructure, and that our SMMEs can be financially supported as well.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on to studio with us, of course, and all the best with your launch event today.
Thank you very much.
All right, of course. That was Percy Morapedi Koji, chairperson of the Africa Economic Leadership Council.